Hi, this is Jim Brisson, and this is the second of three videos on the effects of organizational structures on your ability to be agile and how to improve your organizational structures. So let's get started on part two. Now, just briefly, I'll review part one. And the organizational structure in this picture was described in part one, but it has 5 applications that are in an arc on the top. And they all take advantage of function provided by shared reused components, which is what all the arrows are pointing to here, those reused components in the middle. And there are lots of dependencies, lots of requirements that tend to focus in on the reused components. And there's a lot of confusion on dependencies and funding and understanding where the money is being spent, and lots of lines of communication. And in addition, we have strategic initiatives that are relying on coders in the application. So that's just, again, yet another layer of confusion that's added to the top. So virtually all work that is done involves communicating across groups of people that are much greater in size than Dunbar's number. Now, I discussed Dunbar's number in the last video, but let me just quickly review because it's an important concept. The idea is that up to a certain level, you can have a certain number of people that you have trusting relationships with. And beyond Dunbar's number, you're not having a trust. The trust and relationships are just not sufficient for good communication and for getting things done. Some rules and meetings and procedures and management are needed when you're dealing at numbers higher than Dunbar's number. Now, the picture is pointing to 150, which is almost an optimistic number. Perhaps 100 is a more practical number. Beyond 100 people, then you're getting beyond Dunbar's number. Remember, with a low Dunbar number, autonomy works well. People can govern themselves, and there's not the need for as many meetings, rules, and processes, and so on. Above, governance is needed. And with our complicated organizational structure, we're always cooking above Dunbar's number. So that causes a lot of overhead and a lot of distractions and a lot of things going awry. So in part two of this video, we're going to describe some better examples of how to structure your organization. So part two is go into a happier place. Now in part three, I'm going to add a little bit of science and talk about some organizational sociology, talk about the inverse Conway maneuver, and perhaps talk about value stream mapping to help you understand how to change your organization. So let's look at Spotify first for one of our happier examples. Now Spotify has teams called squads, and they each have the product owner associated. And they have cross-functional team members where function means a tester perhaps, or a technical writer, or a developer, or some other sort of function. And squads have end-to-end business features, so they well understand their goals and their customers. And multiple teams are united into a tribe, and the work of the tribe is related. It's similar work. So the domain knowledge is similar across squads. Now people can easily move between the squads because the work is similar. And they know each other well because they tend to stay in these tribes and squads. So mature tribes can become substantially self-organizing, where the people themselves understand where more work needs to be done. So they'll move themselves across the squad lines or across features to ensure that the work is getting done properly and expeditiously. And also communities of practice by function have chapters for each tribe level. So they'll get together and talk about development or test or whatever at a tribe level. Now, tribes and squads tend to have permanent missions that map into different parts of the product. So perhaps under a top hits list, or a view of the songs that are playing, or the player itself. So they have a great understanding of their goals and the mission and the customer, because they're working for a while on this particular mission, and they get to work with the customers and understand their product very well. Now, in addition, there's the idea of guilds, and guilds are similar to communities of practice, but they have members across the organization and can be driven by any shared interest, .NET, JavaScript, whatever. Let me talk about another example in a company that I worked at. And in this company, we had teams with scrum masters and product owners and cross-functional team members, and where a function could be a tester, a technical writer, a developer. But the developers represented layered architecture. They had a layered architecture environment, so the developers might represent a particular layer of the architecture. So we had cross-domain developers with representatives from different layers on the teams. And so we had communities of practice as well. So the teams could pursue end-to-end business features, just as in Spotify. Their goals were local to the team, and the tribe could have related mission. So in generic terms, what you want: Scrum Masters, product owners, specialists in functional areas are okay, and specialists in domain areas, which all allow you to have a cross-functional, cross-domain teams that work on end-to-end business features so they well understand their goals and mission. Okay? And by the way, the teams you could have multiple teams share in a backlog, so you could have flexibility in the size of your mission. So let's take a quick look at why this works. Now, I think this organizational structure is basically maximizing benefit by careful attention to Dunbar's number. Members of the tribe know each other well. So trusting relationships are built into this structure, facilitating autonomy. Tribe and squad members communicate richly, cooperate readily, and they work on achieving their goals. And that's their focus. They're working together to achieve their goals. And they rely on relationships, not processes and management or rules to get things done. So when working within Dunbar's number, there's minimal rules, processes, and status meetings. I think I've said that enough by now. Okay, Peter Drucker, back in 1954, discussed the idea of knowledge workers. Those are people that primarily bring knowledge and intelligence to their work. And Drucker suggested that they have the best information and the most detailed knowledge, so decisions have better quality and are made quicker when moved to the lowest practical level. So a better organization makes information available to the lowest level and allows them to make decisions related to how they do their work and achieve their goals. Now, better organizational structures are going to minimize distance, and by that I mean that the customer works closely with the team, that dependencies are within the team, and the team has all the right skills, so they're making the most of the decisions. Now, the odds of project failure increase greatly as the size of a project increases. So minimizing work size, the batch size, also has benefits of fewer dependencies, of better focus, of more success and higher morale because they're frequently getting things done. So we want an organizational structure that facilitates working in smaller batches. We want to have all the right skills on the team and teams of teams so they can cooperatively create requirements, design code, etc., and can wisely defer decisions as appropriate. Now, having goals close to the team also yields excellent focus, and shared goals enable empowered teams. Peter Senge in 2001 advocated learning organizations. Now, out of the 5 contributors cited that are listed here, the 5 contributors cited by Peter, 3 are addressed by our proposed organizational structure, and those are personal mastery through the communities of practice and so on, shared vision through the goals, and team learning. So how is Green Guy in a learning organization? Now, Tribe 3 owns the media player, and Team 1 owns song selection, and Green Guy works on the server side. So Green Guy understands the customer problem well, and he has the support of other server folks for code reviews and consultations. He's also on the C# Guild, so he has all the support he needs to master his job, and that makes him happy. Happy workers are more productive, but they stay in their jobs longer gaining more domain knowledge and getting even more productive. So, in sum, with minimal distance to the customer, dependencies and decisions, and smaller projects and fewer rules and more informal communication, empowered teams, and a learning environment, you have a much better organizational structure for doing agile things. So I'll see you on part 3. Thanks.